So let's take a look at the next phase of BattleTech for the turn after initiative, which is movement. Right. So once you've established who has initiative, the person who loses initiative has to pick at least one unit to move. Now, in the book that comes with the box set, or the main rulebook, Total Warfare, there is a little table in there, and we'll put that up on the screen, that shows you how many units you have to move based on how many units there are for the opposing force. So if your opponent outnumbers you, chances are they may have to move more when it's their turn. So that's something you sort of need to plan for as well.
And that can come in handy.
It can, yeah, exactly right. So how does a unit move in the game? All right, so you play on hex bases, right? So hex bases.
So everything is based on hexagonal grids.
Yep.
So you've got 6 different facings that you can face in, and you can move between hexagons, basically. So it costs you a certain number of movement points to move into a hex. Your mech has a certain number of movement points that they can spend, depending on what type of movement you're doing. You can run, you can walk, you can jump, and then you've got various different types for other full BattleTech vehicles and things like that. But in the box set, you've only got mechs, and you've got walking, running, and jumping.
Yeah, not all mechs can jump though.
No. So sometimes you've got to jump of 0.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can always walk and you can always run. You know, I mean, assuming you haven't got any internal damage and things like that. But yeah.
So there'll be penalties for various bits and pieces, but the main one is the terrain that you're moving into. So if it's just a clear open hex, it'll cost you 1 movement point to go into it.
Yeah.
And then there's various modifiers to that. So each type of terrain, so level changes, woods, rubble, all of that sort of stuff will cost you extra to do.
That's right.
And some things like roads will cost you less.
Yeah, so if you have a road that goes through woods, so woods does actually cost extra to move through, but if it's a road or paved, you can just walk right through paying a clear hex cost, so 1.
Yeah.
You only pay the cost of the hex you move into, not the one you're in.
Yep. So you keep adding those up as you go, and when you get to your movement allowance, that's where you end up. And it's basically that. For every facing change, so you've got 6 different facings, for every facing change that you make, so you're trying to make a turn, you have to spend 1 of your movement points. So you'll move forward 1, and then you want to go this way, you'll spend another point to turn that way, and then you'll spend another point to go into this terrain.
Yep. So when you choose a unit to activate, you have to decide what type of movement they're going to do.
Yes.
So walk, run, or jump if jump's available. Okay, so you need to sort of do a bit of look at the map and sort of say, this is where I am, this is where I want to go, work out what it's going to cost you, and make sure you have enough points to spend. Yep. So you get an extra 50% movement points to run, rounded up or down depending on what it is. So so if you've got a walk, so the Battle Master has a walk of 4, which gives it a run of 6. So running makes it a bit harder for you to shoot. But in theory, you should be able to get a bit more distance, which makes it harder for you to be shot at.
Yes. And you generate more heat. The more advanced types of movement you use, the more heat you build up.
Yeah.
Just walking is 1 movement, is 1 heat point.
Yeah.
Running is 2, and then jump is 1 per hex that you actually jump at a minimum of 3.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting good at this.
Yeah. So we're just talking about like movement at the moment. We will talk about like shooting and heat and things like that. Yeah. So we're just mentioning all these things.
You're bearing in mind these things when you're making your move. Yeah. So we'll go into depth more later. Yeah. But that is basically it,
That's basically it. Yeah. So your light units, they because they haven't got a lot of armor, they like speed. So, you know, if you do see light units on the field, expect them to try and move as fast as they can. Yes. They want the modifiers.
Yep.
So keep that in mind, just sort of plan around that.
And that's the other part of the movement that you need to keep in mind is the further you move, the more modifiers you're going to have. The more difficult it is to hit you, and the more difficult it is for you to hit other things.
So enemy units you can't move through, but you can move through allied units.
Yes.
As long as you don't end in the same hex. Mechs are so big that it's 1 for 1. You can't have multiple mechs any in the same hex.
Yep.
So vehicles and infantry, they're a little different, but
We'll go into that
we can
later
talk
too.
about
Yeah.
that difference. So we're just talking about the box set and the rules and that and things like that. So, but yeah, friendlies you can move through, enemies you cannot. So that's also a strategy if you want to block an area if you don't want them to move through, which is particularly nasty if you've got a light mech and you end up sort of cornering it.
Yep.
Can't generate those modifiers, and wow.
It's also nasty if your scenario calls for movement in a certain direction and you block them off.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that right, buddy?
Maybe. It's happened both ways.
It's
right?
happened. Yeah, it happens.
So yeah, so that's the basics of movement. We will be doing some other videos that sort of talks about specific things.
Yeah.
Like we'll focus on the type of terrain exactly, give you more information on how exactly it works and how you can sort of use it to your benefit.
Yep. And when we've moved away from the box set, we'll go into a few things for different types of movement, like flight and VTOLs and all that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
If we get the time.
Yeah. So that's it. So that is the basics of movement.
All good.
Thank you. Bye.